Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Kushner, and today we're going to learn how to put our animal that's larger than life into a background. So to start, you need to take 2 photos, and here are mine. So you can literally just walk right outside where you live. Here's one photo that I took here with this beautiful light from the morning, and another photo outside of my building. The other thing that you'll need is a picture of an animal or your pet. Make sure it's full body. And so I actually just use this picture of my stuffed animal Charmander here for my kids. So that's what we're going to be using today. I'm going to go ahead and start by opening Photoshop. And if you have any problems logging in, just send me an email. And we're going to start by going to Import and Open on the bottom left and clicking Photos. And now I'm going to grab my background. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this outdoor background here. And I can use my fingers to pinch in if I want to see my canvas. So I see the whole thing. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to bring in our animal. So I go to my image icon. It's right above the color picker. And I click Photos. And then I'm going to go back to my photos. And again, I'm going to go ahead and pick my Charmander. And I can make him bigger or smaller if I want. And I'll click Done. And now I want to go ahead and cut him out. So if I hold down on my lasso tool, I can say Select Subject. And it selected most of him. So if that works for you and it selects it well, you can click Mask and it's good. But if you'll notice on my Charmander, it cut off his toes. And I do want the toes. So I'm going to click my arrow to go back. And I can use my back button. I'll press it twice. And instead, I'm actually going to go ahead and click this third lasso over. Okay, and this is another selecting tool that's going to let me just kind of select each space by dragging my finger over it. So you see I'm just kind of dragging my finger over him, and it's just like the selection tool, automatically selecting, except now I can go in. Oh, let's try it again. I can go in and select his toes because it didn't have his toes before. All right, there we go. And we said again, you want a picture with contrast. So if it's not working for you, make sure that your animal has a really different color than the background where you have that picture from. So once I've got that, I click the mask button to mask out the background. And then if I want to change the size of my animal, I can go to the tool right above the lasso here. That's our free transform. And now I can play with the size and the placement. So I can move him and say, maybe I want him sitting in the tree, and I can make him, you know, kind of hanging out on a branch over there. You can go on the bottom and like turn him if you want. So I could have him kind of sitting sideways like he's hanging out. Okay, or I could bring him down here and actually have him sitting, you know, maybe he's going to be like sitting in front of the tree, okay, or to the side of the tree, right? So let's say I'm going to put him right there. And now I'm going to go ahead and click Done. And then something that I can do is if I want to change the lighting on him to make it look like he's really in this scene, I can go ahead to my third tool down underneath this question mark here. It looks like lines with little circles. And you'll see if I scroll down, I have a choice to add a clipped adjustment. And this is where I can kind of mess with him. So if I click on levels, I can make him a little bit, the color more intense. Kind of play around with like what kind of lighting would he have if he was sitting outside, and this was the light. So I think I like him a little brighter like that. And once I'm done with that, I'm just going to kind of scooch this up so you can see. Right now you see my levels are right above, and you see there's like a little down arrow which shows that it kind of modified that layer. But if I like the way that that looks and I'm happy with it, I'm actually going to go to my 3 dots over here. And I'm sorry, I'm going to click on, let's try that again. I click on my levels there. And I can play with, there's like a little box with a down arrow. And you can see it's kind of, it's modifying everything that's underneath it, right? So it's kind of modifying the bushes and that stuff. If I only wanted to modify Charmander, what I can do is I can merge it. So I should be able to click the 3 dots now, and then I click merge down. So I merged down, and now you can see it's just affecting Charmander. It's not affecting all the layers underneath it, so that's better. Okay, so you can kind of play with different adjustments. If I want to add another clipped adjustment, I could kind of play around. Let's say I want to play with the brightness or the contrast. I can, you could see, kind of make him brighter, more intense, or less intense. Okay, and that's kind of the difference of how he looks there. Okay, so again, if I like the way that this looks, again, I have to click off of it and click back to it to get my box with the arrow going down, and then I click my three dots and say merge down. All right, so I've made my clipped adjustments, and now the very last thing I want to do is I'm going to go to the right and I'm going to click this plus inside of the square, and I'm going to drag this layer under because it's going to be a shadow. All right, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my brush over here, and I want to click the color black, and I'm using kind of a really like an airbrush, and there's all different kinds of brushes here. You can kind of change. And I can play with the size. I think this is actually a pretty good size here, and I make sure that my color is black. And then what I'm going to do on this layer one, I'm actually going to make the opacity really light on the right side here. So I'm going to make it like, let's say 30%. And then what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and just kind of paint. And if I bring up the opacity, you'll see what's happening. See how it's like a shadow? Okay, so if I say that that light is really intense and I want kind of a shadow there, now he's casting a shadow. And I can think about like the shape of it too, you know? And so that makes it a little more dramatic. And oh, if I went too far, I can always go to my eraser and just kind of trim. And I'm going to make my eraser a little bit larger over here. So I can kind of like, and see how it's kind of lumpy like that because it's really a hard brush. I'm going to make it a soft brush, and now when I erase it, it'll be kind of like that, right? So you can see how he's kind of casting a shadow, and you can kind of go back and forth and play with that. Maybe I get a smaller brush so that the shadow is a little more focused, kind of like under his leg. But I especially want to get it on this area where there's kind of a highlight there, just to show that he is actually in that space, right? So yeah, that's our tutorial here. At this point, I'm pretty happy with this image, and I'm going to go ahead and save it by pressing the box with the arrow, and then I can click Quick Export and save the image. Now the image is on my camera roll, and I can turn it into Google Classroom. Have fun and be creative, everyone.